This is Future Too Bright Eric Taylor.
And I am the blonde blur Mikey Montgomery. We are the bullish trend, the Bitcoin boys.
That's one word with an I and a capital Z at the end, and you are listening to Wrestling Cheers.
Taking your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to go where you can see that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
And welcome back to Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when we're filling out our brackets. This is Wrestling Cheers. We'd like to talk about things going on in Northeast Ohio independent wrestling scene. We preview shows, we review shows, and sometimes we have interviews along the way. This is a review of Night 1 of the 2022 JLIT Tournament. I'm your host, Justin Summers, and Wrestling Cheers is brought to you by Midwest Territory. Please rate, review, and subscribe your ever listen to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. And like I said, this is a preview of Night 1 of the 2022 JLIT Tournament. I've already introduced myself, and of course, we got Butters.
It's a review of Night 1.
Did I say review?
You said preview.
Preview, okay. It is a review of Night 1. We're not doing a preview of Wrestle Rager. That was kind of on my mind. Because as of this recording, we only know 2 matches. And we suspect that there's going to be some other matches, but we don't know. Well, there's going to be certain title matches. We just don't know where certain people are going to be. And no use to us speculating, and I'm not asking people, because what if we have a Wrestle Rager where we don't really know what's going on? But nonetheless, we'll get into that, but we won't even be talking about potentially. No, I was gonna say even potentially of one of the matches, because the one match that was announced was on Fresh Meat, and we are not reviewing Fresh Meat right now. That will probably be in the next couple weeks. I have to figure out the official Wrestling Cheers calendar with some of the shows that have been added. One that I was kind of told that has been confirmed but has not been announced. So yeah, I'm hoping to review that. That would be a fun one to review. But yeah, we'll review both shows for Night 2 separately, apart from this show and apart from each other, because that's just a lot of matches, and kind of want to give every match its time instead of trying to fit it in and have either short conversations about every match to where it's a decent episode, or we talk about every match at length and here is a 3-hour podcast, and that's after editing. So this is what we're doing. Night 1 of JLIT. So Butters, how was Night 1 for you? How was your seat? How was all that?
My seat was comfy. It was in the comfort of my living room. So that was nice. Got to watch it on the 60-inch. And, yeah, it wasn't half bad. Had some salsa, some chips, and then, some, cucumbers and ranch dressing. Good times.
I remember somebody last week saying that, you don't want to miss, one of these matchups live. And, Charlie, what did you do?
Things happen.
Yeah, just busting your balls. We had meet and greets for this show. I did none of them. I think Eric Young's kind of cool, but I'm not super high on him. We've obviously already had Jack Evans. Didn't do one then before. We had Drago. I already met Dalton Castle at Ring of Honor. And I'm not really huge on Ernest the Cat Miller. If I had a figure of him already, I would have probably got it signed, but it is what it is. This is one of those JLITs that I had no interest in meeting anybody special.
Yeah, I mean, I went for day 2 and got to hang out with Jack Evans and Alec Price a little bit outside. So, I mean, that was fine for me. I didn't need to have a specific meet and greet with them. So,
I will say the independent guests, not the like bigger names, but just like people from other territories. The main 2, I think, made quite an impression, and I wouldn't mind seeing both of them back at some point.
Yeah, I enjoyed both of them, both days. So it was good to see them wrestle.
I think with this JLIT, like, literally the only money I spent was parking, which kind of sucked. Night 1 was $10. Night 2 was $20. And I'm not sure everything that was going on for Saturday, like in that area, but Friday there was like an Alicia Keys concert at Nautica. There was obviously our show. The Guardians were playing up the hill both nights. I thought there was some other stuff going on in the area too. And it was just like, obviously just all regular stuff going on, I should say, but $20 fucking. Damn. I was kind of happy at first. Like when I was on my way there thinking like, oh, you know, parking will be $10 again, but I'll get a good spot and I'll be there for the day. And then I pull up and, you know, you got to pay with an app now. And it was like $20. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I'm going to pay it. But what the fuck? And then I spent $10 at the bar to get me a water and a Red Bull. Or not water, a Sprite and a Red Bull. Both separate. But other than that, like, I didn't spend any money on merch. I think that's one.
I paid $10.68 for my parking, and it was up behind the Odeon. So first time I parked in that little lot. But yeah, it was only $10.
That could have been part of it. I parked there the night before. And like I have a love-hate relationship with that one, because if I ever want to go out to my car, obviously you have to like go around that entire area to get back. Right. So like anytime that I've like bought stuff or stuff I wanted to take back, I'm like, all right, I have to like either hurry up and do it, or I just don't do it at all and like put my stuff somewhere and or hope that it doesn't get damaged. And it actually worked out for me because I went like a long time without like taking any drink of anything during fresh meat. And as I was waiting outside, like my throat got super dry, and like it has never got like that dry before. And I had some water in my car, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna walk over and get that. So luckily I didn't have to like go all the way around the Odeon, which I mean, granted, it's not super far, but still, like in that situation, I was happy my car was as close as it was. Yeah,
I just kept myself hydrated when I was there all day, and then the only thing I bought was 2 bags of Kaplan's beef jerky. So I finally was able to get some.
Which you gave me a full piece of. Like I had the sample before, but having like that full piece, like that's some real good beef jerky. Like there's some heat to it, but like it's very minimal. And I like for the most part, I didn't necessarily notice it, but I know like there was literally just a little bit of warmth on my lips, like after maybe about a minute or so, or like just afterwards, just like there was just that gentle warmth. And I was like, oh, that's a little different. I kind of like it.
It's like a kiss from Kaplan.
Yeah, but so yeah, nothing much else merch wise. So yeah, let's get into this card because there's really, I mean, there's nothing much else I can think of.
All right.
We started off the night with Jocelyn Navarro versus Mourinho Tanaglia. I was happy to start off with this match. The only thing that sucks is like I did not go back and watch any of this, and we had like a couple days of wrestling here. I don't remember as much. Should have definitely taken notes. What were your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, man. I honestly, going in, like I had my bracket picked, and was kind of bummed. It was right off the bat. My bracket was broken, so. That's all I can really like. That's my main takeaway from it. I mean, the match was good. I like both Jocelyn and Mourinho, and it wasn't a super long match. A lot of these matches were pretty short, which helped because there's so many of them. So
there was what was it 8 matches? No,
12,
24. That's right. Yeah. So we definitely needed short matches because man, all these can't be like 20 minutes long, and that's like bell to bell 20 minutes. Like we need some shorter ones.
Yeah, I think the longest match on night one was Dom and Adam Priest, and it was almost 14 minutes. So,
and that's like you're getting closer to the end of the night too. So I always like understand like those decisions. Maybe it's a little bit different for a tournament, but actually that was not the longest match. Or yeah, it was. Never mind. Some of these matches actually went longer than I thought, and the main event wasn't the longest. Or even that when I was semi close to it, but not like super close.
No, there's a couple others that were a little bit closer.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what like you said, that's what you need for a card this long.
Yeah, nothing crazy. As long as you keep it like around 10 minutes, roughly, it's fine for all of them. And
was it night one where they were having, we were having issues starting. That was a huge thing, I remember, because like Steve Guy was stalling. It was like clear, like there was issues. Actually, I think he even said that. And then you text me, you're like something about, is there a problem with the stream? And I'm like, we haven't even started yet. And like, it's going to be.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you guys were just going to start and we were just going to come into the action like already in progress, or if they were actually going to hold up. Because like everybody was complaining about the stream. I just had like the waiting for signal from venue, like graphic for a while. For like 10 minutes, and then it just completely shut down, and then it came back, and then we were live not long after that. So
yeah, I knew there was some problem with IWTV or us communicating with IWTV, whatever it exactly was. And I know that like there's a way that we know these shows should start. You know, Steve Guy comes out, and normally it's like he's got a spiel, and then like literally within like a couple minutes, we're doing the countdown, and we're going, and here it is. We're past start time, and like. They're trying to like figure out what's wrong, or they're trying to fix whatever. The thing that I've noticed though, and like we always get this stuff, there's moments that like Steve Guy has to stall. Everybody always yells, "Tell a joke," which I know he's a comedian, but like that's not necessarily how stand up works.
Right.
Like normally you have like certain little bits that you'll have in your set. So you can't just like tell a punchline. There's some comedians that I think could do that. Like, you can repeat a Mitch Hedberg joke, and you know, like you don't need a lot of time or setup for that, but a lot of stuff, comedians, they need setup. So I know like Steve kind of gets tired of that, and like I've got to the point like, yeah, I kind of understand, like you can't just tell a joke, you have to tell a story. But anyway, so yeah, that's the one part early about the show that I do remember, that little trouble starting up. But as a whole, how was it for the night?
Stream was good the rest of the night. Everything was fine. No issues, no lag, no nothing. It was perfect.
I like that Jocelyn was the only woman in the tournament. I would like to have seen her go to the second round, but I feel like we're building something here. Like we're going to see PME versus Jocelyn and Broner, right? Like I think it even gets kind of teased a little bit too of some part of night two or fresh meat.
I don't know, man.
And then it would line up with how these first round matches started too, of, you know, one half of PME going against Jocelyn, the other half of PME going up against Broner. I don't know why.
Possible.
I mean, we got, well, I was going to say we got 3 shows coming up. It could happen at any of them, but it won't happen at Rager. So throw that one out. But we have 2 other shows after that. 3, technically, 2. So 4, but 3 that Broner will be at. Actually 2. I think half of PME won't be there for Rager either. So
dude, you're I can tell how your mind's working right now, and it's just like you're throwing numbers out. Oh man, yeah. There's a lot coming up, and it could be on any of them. Like they could hold off and do it in October. Who knows what they're gonna do? Like if they want to build that, or if they want to just use it as like a throwaway for some stuff. I mean, it's possible.
Man, too bad PME weren't like tag champions right now. Have Broner and Jocelyn be the champions. I think it'd be great.
It'd be fun.
Like if we could have twins as a tag team, we can have Jocelyn and Broner as a tag team. Any other thoughts on this match?
Nope.
It was Mourinho pitting Jocelyn to advance to the semifinals. And of course, all these matches were opening round matches. So all the winners go to the semifinals. Let's move on to the next one. Arthur Mcarthur versus Chuck Stone. Bulking season implodes. Chuck fucks versus Artie Fox, soon to be named fucking season.
I'm shaking my head right now.
I said that to him on, I think Friday. I think during intermission. I think we got to it because we were saying, like, we were chanting, you know, Chuck Fox, Artie Fox, and I was like, oh, the Fox, because we both call him Fox anyway. Then you put them versus the Fuckets.
It's like a child learning to swear for the first time.
Well, that's how we yell fuck to both of them, both teams. And the ironic thing is that's kind of what I thought when people love the Fuckets to begin with. I was like, oh, like, do we like them just because they have fuck in the name? Okay.
That was a little bit it, but it's also, they're pretty fun to watch.
I wasn't sold on them until I saw their first promo against BJ. Might have been against the Forgotten, but I remember, like, BJ, I think, was part of it. I think it was in, like, a parking garage, too. It's kind of well shot. I gotta go back and find that promo because I love that. We're here to talk about the other Fox.
Yeah, these two Fox had a match, and one of the Fox won, and the other one lost.
Shit.
I'm gonna pick the wrong one.
How ironic that Artie's actually going to be tag teaming with Russ at Old. I didn't think about that till right now. But anyway, I enjoyed this match. Getting to see a little bit more from Arthur of what he can do on his own. But you got Chuck in there.
Yeah, I was pulling for Artie because everybody else was pulling for Chuck for the most part. So I was pulling for Artie. And didn't end up well for me.
I was about to say, how'd that work out for you? Because I want to say this was like the only difference from our opening round. I thought, like, for the most part we were the same, but I know we were just one pick off, like right and wrong.
Yeah, there might have been some other ones.
Yeah, there might have been some other ones, but I know record wise, because after you posted that you were 8-8, I did
6-6
or 6-6 when I said 8. Anyway, 6-6, I was 7-5, or yeah.
I think the other was the Eric Taylor, Eric Young. I think was our other difference. Or no, Chase Oliver. It was Chase Oliver, Alec Price, because I picked Alec Price.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Artie and Chuck?
Nothing specific that stood out. Unfortunately, that may be sort of like a recurring theme here, because like you said, we didn't really go back and rewatch this show today. So trying to remember stuff from 3 shows.
Especially with like how day 2 was. There's a lot that I remember more from day 2 over this show. Oh, can we talk about how I had my own VIP section?
Yeah.
I don't know why this happened, but the section of seats that I was at were like inside the barricade. Like they were almost like they were one thing short, and they couldn't fit everything around the ring totally and have everybody outside the barricade. So we had this like one little spot of like 2 rows, and of all the front row seats there was me, 2 tickets bought by Paul Greer, and a seat that someone who didn't pay admission or didn't buy a weekend pass or something could have sat at. And Paul Greer didn't show. I was obviously there. No one else sat beside me. And the second row behind us too was kind of the same deal of walk-up ticket buyers could sit there. So for like majority of the show, it was nobody. Wrestlers would like come up and sit with us. Ed Battis sat with me. Battis sat with me. Steve Guy sat with me. Like just my own little section that, hey, whatever. I know some people like could have sat in the Paul Greer seats. Good old Mike Trombetta, but he didn't want to sit there because there was no guardrail. Understandable, but luckily, like literally the only time I had like any like physical interaction with a wrestler was night 2 with Jackson Stone. And like he pulled him, or he used me to like balance himself kind of like on the walkway, like as he was like crawling from the ring. So kind of safe.
Yeah, it was fine.
Chuck and Artie went the way that I thought it was going to go, where Chuck Stone pins Artie. Burger loving badass. A man who got his car stolen earlier in the week. I did get an update on that. It was found. There were certain issues with it and all that, but at least it's fixable. And other than that, like, it'll be a running car. All right, let's move on to the next one. Derek Dillinger versus Mikey Montgomery. You wanna talk about your boy?
Yeah, so this match was really fun. It was actually a rematch from the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tournament. And this was just as good as that match, if not better. These two have really good chemistry together. And, there's a little shenanigans from Ziggy. And Derek got the win. Moving on. One of many wins of the weekend.
Spoiler alert. You didn't mean to talk about the whole match where you have to say the ending.
That's all I really remember.
I mean, this had some good interaction with Ziggy and the Duke, which we haven't had much of. Only, I think the Cibernetico. I want to say that's the only time we've really seen it, and they were on the same side. Same thing with whatever match they tagged in. Was that a Winchester show? AIW3D? Probably. But here we go. They're on opposite sides, and they're going to do what they can to have their side win. And as a whole for this day too, well, the whole tournament, but specifically first thing for this day is Bitcoin Boys really shined more than normal. Getting to see what they could do in singles competition, and the crowd loved it. We're to a point where the Bitcoin Boys are loved by the AIW crowd. I mean, so is Derek, but nonetheless, as Butters said, it was Derek hitting Mikey for the win. Nothing much else I could add, so let's move on to the next one. We will potentially talk about this match more or longer than it actually went. Casey Carrington versus Ernest the Cat Miller. And I'll just say this didn't necessarily go the way I thought it was. I mean, we both picked the same, right?
Yeah, we both picked Casey.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be an easy round one win.
Casey was no match for the Cat, man.
Now that I think about it, because in my head, I was comparing it to the last JLIT, 2019. So I'm going to attempt to pull up 2019. I should have fucking known. Because it kind of reminded me of Savio Vega versus MJF, and Savio Vega beat MJF. Double checking through that. Yeah, that was we only had he was the only legendary wrestler, let's call it. Because we also had Pat Buck, but he went against Swoggle. When it comes to Casey Carrington, I can't wait to talk about night 2.
Yeah.
That's where the fun conversation is going to happen. But we did continue the Pussy Boy chants for the show. And yeah, Ernest the Cat Miller pinned Casey Carrington. And he had Brian Carson out there with him. How bad is that?
I mean, Brian Carson isn't exactly the best manager, so kind of get what you pay for there.
And not only that, beat him within 3 minutes. Any thoughts on this match?
I'm glad that it was quick.
It was very fitting too. Have Casey lose under 3 minutes to the Cat. Yeah. Oh, let's move on to the next one. We touched on a little bit earlier. I thought this could have been shorter. Philly Collins versus Isaiah Broner.
Yeah, Philly showing his toughness, calling out Broner, and it was a good match, man. I enjoyed this match. Broner was always showing off, new stuff, and every time you think you got, I think these wrestlers think that he's like a one trick pony with that lariat, but he's got a lot in his arsenal and just keeps getting better and better. So
he calls himself the problem for a reason. I do like that we're seeing, at least through these 2 days, we didn't have a single PME match. We're much like Bitcoin, seeing what these guys can do on their own. And comparing it to Go for Broke, I mean, I think both tag teams did way better of really showing what they could do. And a side note, which I told him at the end of night 2, I like the haircut. Something small. Hasn't really ever had his hair this short, especially in wrestling. And I think it helps this particular version of PME. Because now we're also getting out of the Broski 1 and 2 era. I don't know if there was ever an explanation for it, but, they don't have him anymore. which is fine, but I think they're killing it.
Yeah, Philly gets this haircut and he thinks he's The Rock now, so.
There's so many layers of that. Night 2, his girlfriend was wearing a Rock shirt, and I called that shit out. I'm like, the fuck, was this planned? And it wasn't, but we're also going back to, well, maybe we're not going back to it. I'm noticing it more because it's singles competition, but we're getting back to the nicknames for PME. I forget what they are off the top of my head, but it's not just Philly Collins and Mourinho Tanaglia.
Oh, Philly is the sensual lover, so I do remember that much because that makes me laugh.
Is Mourinho the easy rider?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I'll have to try to go back and watch that. Or just wait till the next time I see him at a show and they get announced. But it's one of those things with PME that, like, they're probably going to stay away from the tag titles for a while, which is fine. But they're going to have time to, like, really build and work on who they are. It kind of reminds me of sometimes with what we had with To Infinity and Beyond. The brief periods where they were away from the tag titles. And, like, look at them now. Like, that team over time, like, really turned themselves into a legitimate tag team. And really, it came down to it. They were two people kind of thrown together. And they fucking made it work. And made it work more than probably most people thought they would have to begin with. Dude, how do you think this crowd would have reacted if Broner didn't win?
I think there would have been a lot of shocked people and maybe some boos. I don't know, but a lot of shocked people, I think.
Also, between this match and Jocelyn's match, up in the balcony was Jocelyn's niece, and she was fucking getting into these matches. It was fucking great, especially Jocelyn's match. And with this one, you had her and Jocelyn both yelling shit. It's great. There's something about kids watching professional wrestling and they get like that into it that, like, at least for me, it makes me smile every time. Like, it's like, hell yeah. Any other thoughts on Broner and Philly?
No, not really.
Yeah, went exactly the way we thought. Isaiah Broner pinning Philly Collins to advance to the semifinals. Let's move on to the last match of the first half. We got Mr. JLIT Colin Delaney versus the returning Dalton Castle. Unfortunately, Charlie was not one of the boys. Josh Bishop was not one of the boys. The Duke was not one of the boys. I do believe they were students of AIW.
Yeah. Yeah, there was no way I was going to be one of the boys.
Were you rejected?
No, I just didn't apply to do such a job, so didn't even inquire about it.
It was cool to see Dalton Castle at the show. I wish we would have gotten more of him, like, before he went to Ring of Honor. Because even with me, like, I've been around since the end of 2011, and I still hadn't seen him up until this event in AIW. I missed him by, like, a handful of months. But it would still be, like, it would have been cool to have more of him, but it could have been one of those things that he'd been used, I think, a lot by AIW early on.
Was he going by Ashley Remington at that time, or was he Dalton Castle at that time?
I'm pretty sure it was Dalton Castle, but I can pull up Cage Match and find out. Because now it's easier to pull up his Cage Match because I don't have to go back to his last show in 2011. I can just go to the most recent one. Maybe early on, yes. Oh, fuck, that was early on in his career. He only started in 2009. He was Dalton Castle. Let's double check whether he was ever not Dalton Castle in AIW. I'm a dumbass and hit 2011 again. It seems like he was, at least according to this, always Dalton Castle in AIW. 2010 and 2011. And if there's a name change, it normally says, well, actually, fuck. In 2009, it says he was Dalton Castle. Was there just different places he went by a different name?
Probably. I just know that was one of his alter egos. I just wanted to know if he was that character or if he was just like a Dalton Castle. I'm sure it was way before the Peacock.
Oh, well, no. At least according to this, all of Ashley Remington's matches were Chikara, except for one, which was on the Jericho Cruise. Ashley Remington.
Okay, so it was a Chikara thing, so that's where it came from. Okay, that makes sense.
That's kind of what I thought, because a lot of that stuff for which Chikara would be, like, in a way, which we're part of the, I think, inspiration came from, but it was kind of like how World Wrestling is. How you can be a different character there. And that was 2014 and 2015. Had like a 2-year stretch of it.
But these two knew each other really well, and they had a really fun match. This was a good final first half match to have. Back and forth, lots of counters, real good stuff.
And I like that, like, Dalton Castle kind of is a borderline comedy wrestler. Like, he can do both, and it just all depends on what you want from him.
Right.
And like, I think as a whole too, he's like such a professional. I would like to see more from him. Hopefully, well, he does have a ROH title, so hopefully there's more of that in his future. And I would think too, like, Dalton Castle isn't somebody you would want to just piss away. Like, that dude's talent.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he was ROH champion, so.
And I think Dalton Castle is someone you would want to have because he can appeal to somebody who's not a wrestling fan.
Right.
Like, a regular person could just see him on TV and go like, well, what's that about? That's different.
Right.
Any other thoughts on the match?
Nope.
It was Dalton Castle pinning Colin Delaney to advance to the semifinals. I can't remember what I picked this. I think this one I'd pick Colin. It also doesn't help that, like, my picks on last week's show might not have necessarily been what I put on a bracket. Because when we recorded, we didn't have a bracket. So once I see a bracket in front of me and I'm seeing second round matchups, I can figure some stuff out. I don't think it changed much, but I'm pretty sure when I filled my bracket out, I put Colin. After this, we went to intermission and we came back with this one. Jackson Stone versus Kaplan. I'm curious of what we're going to see from Jackson Stone for the rest of the year. Because we've seen him go against Dom so many times, and now I think we're going to get more shit like this. We're going to see what he has in store, what he can fucking do. And putting him against Kaplan was fucking awesome.
Yeah, like, it was real surprising to see the results of this match, and then like even like just the change it felt like in his character on night 2. It felt very like he's ramping up as a completely different monster in the company. So that's very interesting.
AIW has its fair share of monsters, and we have some who weren't on this show that I would like. I can't wait to see how they just get mixed in. I mean, Jackson Stone is a dude that as a whole has been working really hard to get where he's at now. And, you know, it was kind of a blessing for him that Ethan Wright stepped away, because he has taken that same opportunity and, in my opinion, running with it.
Yep, for sure.
And the crazy thing was, like, he wasn't new to AIW. He had been here before. Like, he had 2 other matches. But now I think it's starting to stick with people. And putting him up against, you know, Kaplan, the dude, like one of the most beloved AIW wrestlers, and as well as one of the hardest hitting dudes. Like, this was a fucking battle. Fortunately for Kaplan, he lost. Jackson Stone pinned him to advance to the semifinals. Any thoughts on this match?
No.
Let's get into the next one. Alec Price versus Chase Oliver. How did you pick against Chase?
Have you seen Alec Price? He's really, really good. I mean, Chase is good too, but Alec Price is like a blue chipper on the indies right now. So
have you seen Chase Oliver? You know,
have I seen Chase Oliver's work that he was supposed to do for me?
So there's a little bit of bitterness and resentment.
Not even a little bit, honestly. I'm not even super worried about it. I tease him every once in a while about it, but I should actually have a work print copy in my hands this week sometime. So that'll be fun to pass around and let people see it. So,
but some would say with Chase Oliver in AIW, he's been on a tear.
In scramble matches, yes, they actually brought this up on commentary. In scramble matches, he is very victorious, but in singles matches, he's like 1-4. So he very much wasn't exactly the overall pick in this to me because, I mean, he does have a history of losing singles matches. Yeah, scrambles would, help him in his second day, but he doesn't do great in singles matches. So, plus Alec Price being, like I said, a blue chipper kind of made that one pretty easy for me to pick. And this was probably one of the top matches of the night. So,
maybe it's hard to argue against kind of like this whole second half. Like most of these matches, I would say are on another level, especially with some of the competitors we're talking about. Thoughts on the match?
Man, there's just lots of high flying stuff and just like really flippy stuff. It was good. It was a good match. Like, this is definitely something to check out if you're just kind of skimming through these matches. Stop and watch this one.
It was Chase Oliver pinning Alec Price to advance to the semifinals. Let's move on to the next one. It was fitting to have the back-to-back debuts here. So next up, we had Adam Priest versus Dominik Guerini. And Adam Priest coming out with a Alabama shirt on, which majority of the crowd did not like, which the referee in this match did not like. I saw him turn a blind eye a couple times during this match, so, there could be a reason why. How did you think this match went?
This was another one of my favorites of the night. Cause this was a straight wrestling match, man. I've seen Adam Priest a bunch in, action wrestling, in the South, and he's awesome. He reminds me a lot of like a Benoit or a Dynamite Kid, with his wrestling style, and, him going up against like anybody like Dom, who's another wrestler, with like jiu-jitsu background, that kind of thing. Like it works really well, and they had a really good match. This was really fun to watch.
I know when it comes to night 2, I was kind of upset Adam Priest didn't bring his belt because he's New South champion, right?
I don't know if he's New South champion. I know he just won the Action Championship. I don't know if he's New South champ as well. Who's
New South champion then? Who's carrying around big gold?
I am not sure who is their current champion, honestly.
Kenzie Page, according to Cage Match?
I mean, that's possible, I guess. I'm skimming their Twitter as we speak, trying to see.
I mean, according to Cage Match, that's who's the champion, and the most recent title defense was the 6th of this month.
All right. Yeah, I see it now. There's a photo of her with the belt, yeah. Alrighty then.
God, Adam Priest hasn't been champion since the beginning of the year. I was way off.
Well, it was the last time they were relevant, so. Oh.
I miss Cabana Van Dam being champion, because that was the best. Tyler Matrix, too. I'll give it to him. The biggest thing for Adam Priest for the weekend sadly happened on night 2, so we're not going to be talking about it right now.
Nope.
And I look forward to talking about it because I'm going to compare him to a legendary wrestler who was around AIW a lot. And I think if he comes back around, I like to see more of him and be a little bit more like that. Definitely not 100% like that, but we'll get into that when we get to next.
I know who you're thinking of.
But for me, that fit who he was at the end of night 2.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And night 2, he got a please come back chant, right? Did him and Price both get please come back, or was it just one of them?
Alec Price got a please come back after his match with Bishop, but the crowd was cheering at him when he was leaving, and he said he didn't want any pity claps or anything.
Gotcha.
Or wait, was it that? No, he said he cut that promo where he said if the kid gave him the finger, he wouldn't come back or something. So,
spoiler alert.
Shit. Edit that out, Summers.
Nah, I'm keeping it in. Because at this point, that picture has been on fucking Twitter past.
That's true.
Pretty much ever since it happened, and it's going to be up all week. And I still say it's Caden 2007.
But yeah, it would be fun to have him back. Both him and Alec Price were awesome additions this weekend, and I'd like to have both of them back, hopefully in the future down the road.
We're getting to a part of AIW to where, like, how much outside talent are they going to bring in? I'm not even talking about, like, the high-profile talent. Like, I always like having, like, a few of those every show. But even, like bringing in CPA. Like, that hasn't, outside of Gauntlet, that hasn't happened since COVID happened. And CPA was a regular at AIW. Like, I think it was, not almost a year. I think it was like good, or was it over a year? I can't remember. Nonetheless, like, stop bringing him in, stop bringing in VSK. VSK might have a higher price now, which is understandable. But with, just the cost of gas and everything, like bringing people in seems to be a harder thing. So we are getting a lot of closer talent, which I'm fine with. But when you're able to bring in people like Adam Priest and Alec Price or CPA or whoever, like, to me, it adds something to what we have, because like, I love this area. I love the students, but when we pull from other territories, other regions, and I don't have to go to that territory or region to see these people, I love it. Anyway.
There's still a lot of talent that I'd love to see make their way into Ohio that I haven't seen yet at AIW, but I have seen other places. So, I mean, but I'd still like to see them at AIW because there's some matches that I'd like to see them in. So someday.
So far, I think your list of people you wanted to see debut in AIW, none of them are even close. When we get to it at the end of the year, Stacy surprisingly hit the nail on the head with two people. He got one of the matches for them completely wrong. I got it right. Anyway, going back to the match, it was Dominik Guerini pinning Adam Priest to advance to the semifinals, which you picked Dom, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought, because I figured of all the people, like, you couldn't go against Dom unless he was going up against Derek.
Right.
Though, like, 2021 Charlie and 2020 Charlie, even go back to 2019, like, love Dominik Guerini.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for a hot minute there, he was the main reason I was going to AIW, and then I started to enjoy the production, and that grew on me real big, and yeah, so.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Cheech versus Wes Barkley. I don't got much here. I mean, it's great to see Cheech back after missing Apso, and Wes is Wes.
Yeah, I didn't really have much on these last three matches, honestly. Like, I was kind of like done at this point. 12 is a lot to do in a night, and I just remember being pretty burnt out after Dom's match. I was like, all right. I still watched the rest of the show, but I just was kind of in and out of it.
I mean, it kind of goes with the theme of the night with a lot of these tag teams of, seeing what they got solo. And, now that Josh is the absolute champion, and especially just the absolute champion, we're probably going to see less of the shooters together. I mean, I think those matches will happen here and there. I have one that I threw out on Twitter that I really want to see happen, but, it's going to be Wes on his own. So we're building the stock back up in Barkley. I mean, Cheech is Cheech. There's nothing else to really add there, but a big highlight was on Wes. And it was Wes pinning Cheech to advance to semifinals. Let's move on to the next one. A match that I thought was going to be the main event.
You did.
But I was wrong. Jack Evans versus Drago.
Yeah, it's Jack Evans is definitely like one of those guys that could hide in plain sight and people wouldn't realize who he is. I found that out on Saturday, and because I saw him at like the student show, like up, like watching and stuff, and then like walking around. I didn't realize it was him until like the intermission in between the two shows. And he came down to hang out with us in the parking lot. And then I realized who it was. And I was like, oh shit. Okay.
I think for me, when it comes to him, like, I don't think his promo photo looks exactly like him. Like, I know it's him, but like, kind of like the angle and everything, like, he looks kind of different to me. I mean, now I know what he looks like, but like going back to like his, first match in AIW, like when he walked out, I was like, oh, that doesn't look like the same guy on the promo.
Do you think it's a clone?
No, I don't. I think it's more of just like how he has his like face and everything, like in that promo picture.
So you're saying you want him to be Blitzkrieg again, so he's got a mask on, so you don't have to see his face.
I had no idea that he ever had a mask on.
Yeah, there was like a small time where he took over the moniker of Blitzkrieg from WCW and wrestled like maybe 2 matches, and he got hurt in like the second match and then never wore the mask again. So
yeah, definitely not that.
The only thing I really remember is from this match mainly is that Brian Carson on commentary was like just yapping forever about Drago's tongue and all that kind of shit, and making like all the innuendos that like a 3rd grader would make about it. So not shocking from him, but yeah.
That tongue looks really weird up close. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's.
I mean, I know it's not his real tongue.
Obviously. I mean, although he is half dragon, half man, so that could be it. Could be real.
It almost looked like he was just sucking a piece of Jello in and out of his mouth.
Well, they have those Jello tongues like that. The gelatin tongue. That's all it is. His other gear, the blue gear that he has, where he's got like the whole fucking wingspan and stuff with it, is really sweet. Though I'm just kind of bummed he didn't wear that one.
This was what I would kind of expected this match to be, though.
Oh, for sure.
Winner-wise and the style.
Yeah.
It's kind of why I thought it would be the main event. But at the same time, like with it being the JT Lightning Invitational Tournament, that being like somebody local, like you want it to have at least one person like familiar with the area. Doesn't have to be that way, but neither of these two dudes are local or people that like come through a lot. So I can understand why they didn't go that route. But it was Jack Evans pinning Drago for the win. Let's get on to... Okay, when I tweeted about it, I didn't say main event because it's just a round 1 tournament. But, you know, the final opening round match and the last match of night 1. Eric Taylor versus Eric Young. And did Eric Taylor bring the family? They were...
why wouldn't you... bring the family to a show where you're going to face a former TNA champion, a former WWE superstar, and essentially you're main eventing the show with this person. I mean, why would you not bring? I'd have my whole family there too. I don't blame them. I'd say it's probably his most high profile match. Honestly, I can't. Can you think of anything that would be more high profile for him?
Oh, no, it's 100% his most high-profile match. I think Thorne said that on the preview. I think he's been in the ring with some bigger names, but not one-on-one.
Right.
I think everything's been like tag.
Right.
Obviously, because of Bitcoin. And if not a time there's a one-on-one match, it's, you know, just regular, you know, AIW wrestlers. You know, at Gangster Rap Made Me Do It, he was in the ring with, you know, Shane Douglas. And that was a pretty good one, but that was him and the Duke versus Shane and Wes. Don't really have enough time to go through every match, but he's had like some moments, but he had 100% biggest profile match. Oh, I forgot about this match. His match at Sunny Days versus Eric, versus Tom Lawler. It lasted like 4 minutes. And then led to Filthy versus Mance. But yeah, it made sense to bring out your family and everything, but they've come out before. Maybe not as many here, but it goes back to what I was saying earlier that, you know, Bitcoin boys were cheered a lot today or this weekend. Way more than I feel like normal. What are your thoughts on the match?
I mean, it was, you know, it's your basic match with these two guys. I thought it was fine. Anything really stood out or anything.
I think, this really showed what Eric could do. Eric Taylor. And I'm completely happy for the dude getting that main event spot. You know, getting the win too. Might have been by a low blow, but nonetheless, it was Eric Taylor advancing to the semifinals. And that was the end of our night. End of night 1. What were your thoughts coming out of night 1?
I was excited to get to see what would happen in night 2. It was fun to watch along and chat with some of my friends and kind of go through the bracket and see like all the matchups now, like for night 2, what we were going to get. And, you know, kind of speculate on that a little bit. Overall, night 1, definitely had some fun matches. Nothing too crazy.
It was a good start for the weekend. I think we get into the issue with night one of it being just this strict format of all tournament matches, nothing really ever to spice it up. And I compare it to the NFL playoffs. As in the playoffs, especially in the NFL, there can be some fun things, all these different rounds, but like everybody really cares about the Super Bowl. And I think the same thing can be said about these kind of shows. Like, yeah, there's people that are going to care about night one. We have all these opening round matches, but all the action is going to happen on night two when there are matches to spice things up a bit. And there's going to, like, especially for this one, we're going to crown a new champion. So not knowing where we were going to go with that is probably why maybe more people were not showing up to night one. And I think, like, two, even just the history of JLIT, night one has rarely been like that well attended. And before, it was because they were going up against a lot of Cavs games when they were in the playoffs. And I don't remember how 2019 was, but it feels like that's been the story since the inception. So yeah, that was night one. Any final thoughts or last minute plugs before we go?
You can find me on Twitter at Charlie_Butters, and you can check out my other podcast, If You Catch My Grift, where we talk about grifters, con men, and charlatans and all that fun stuff. We just released an episode on Andrew Tate, so if you've heard of him, you can go check that out and find out what he's about. And I think we're going to do Dr. Oz next, so it should be coming in a couple weeks.
And of course, you can find myself at jsummers330 on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, much like you can find the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose, desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. Like I said earlier in the show, please rate, review, and subscribe your Everlist This Fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. And all of those links are in the show notes and under the link tree link. Check out our podcast friends, such as Pod Van Dam, Super Fantastic Podcast, It's Evolution Baby, The IndieCast, Sobros Network, Biff Radio, GameWorks Podcast, Powerbomb Jitsu, Spotlight Series, Fully Posable, Positively Pro Wrestling, IWTV Guide, If You Catch My Grift, At Odds with Wrestling, Marks with Mikes, X-Over, The Powell Driver Podcast, Tornado Tag Podcast, The Uncut Wrestling Podcast, This Ends at Prom, and Porch Talk. And check out our other non-podcasting friends such as The Mystery Men, Redline Radio, Mouse's Wrestling Adventures, VHS Party Tonight on Instagram, Danger Zone Video in Joliet, Tennessee, Heart of Gold, Toy Hio Toy Show, Time Capsule Toys, Stay Tough, Smokin' Jay's Barbecue, JCP Designs, Midwest Territory Southern Underground Pro, and the official graphic designer of Wrestling Cheers, Moy Boy Designs. That will do it for us here on Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name. And next up, Fresh Meat 2. Later.
It's the Wrestling Cheers. Get up on your feet, brightening your day in the middle of the week. And you gotta love the show. Yeah, you know it holds a title for the best podcast. Talking wrestling in Ohio. Finishing a cold one, take a load off. We ain't all about the prohibition like Josh, so we cheers. And then we sit back. Other shows are in the trash, kinda like they Nick Stapp. Like the name is Matt Justice, wearing all the gold. Wrestling Cheers is coming to a close. The #1 podcast going in the game. And one day everybody's gonna know the name. It's the Wrestling Cheers. This is Platinum Max, signing off. Ohio, good night. The world, good night. We love you. We'll see you next week.